The fallout continues over the elite college admissions scheme known as Operation Varsity Blues, 3 days after charges were announced against 50 people, including 13 college coaches and powerful CEOs, for taking part in a scheme where wealthy parents paid exorbitant bribes to secure spots for their unqualified children in schools including Yale, Stanford, Georgetown, UCLA, and USC, University of Southern California, as well as Wake Forest. Parents reportedly paid up to $6.5 million to gain access to the schools. This is U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling announcing the charges Tuesday.
This case is about the widening corruption of elite college admissions through the steady application of wealth combined with fraud. There can be no separate college admissions system for the wealthy, and I'll add that there will not be a separate criminal justice system either.
At the center of the story is Newport Beach, California man Rick Singer, who promised parents he could get their children into the schools in exchange for a hefty fee. As part of the scheme, he bribed school coaches to give his clients admission slots reserved for student athletes, in some cases either staging or doctoring photos to make the teenagers seem like accomplished athletes. Earlier this week, Singer pleaded guilty to charges including racketeering, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. Singer's clients included Hollywood stars Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, and Bill McGlashan, founder of TPG Capital, one of the largest private equity investment firms in the world, all of whom were charged on Tuesday. Well, our next guest has been studying how the so-called elite class of America have worked the system to maintain and consolidate power and wealth, even while doing so under the pretext of helping people and, quote, changing the world. On Wednesday, he tweeted, "The college bribery scam is not a college bribery scam. It's a master class in how America, governed by a cheater, ruled by rule breakers, managed by a class that confuses its privilege for merit, functions." Anand Giridharadas is editor-at-large at Time magazine and a former correspondent and columnist for the New York Times. His new book is called Winners Take All, The Elite Charade of Changing the World. Anand, welcome to Democracy Now! Talk about what you feel is most important to understand about this scandal.
You know, I think when a scandal like this breaks, it's really important for us to understand that we've gone from seeing 0% of a system to 0.003% of a system, right? There's so much more here. This is a little biopsy of a world that we happen to get. And what we learned is, as you cover on this show, America is in many ways rigged for the wealthy and powerful. And we know that. We have a tax code that is rigged for the wealthy and powerful. We have antitrust enforcement that's rigged for the wealthy and powerful. We fund public education according to property taxes, so nicer mommy or daddy's house, the better the school you get. America's already rigged for rich people. The problem is, for some rich people, all that rigging that I just described is shared equally among rich people, right? You have the same first-class seat on the commercial jet that all the other rich people have. And what we found in this case was some rich people are not satisfied with the generalized rigging that they have to share with everybody else. They want special, private, bespoke, bottle service rigging over and above the standard rigging that rich people receive. And I read the indictment. The Singer guy's a great character, and he really understood the psychology of these rich people. People like him in that kind of role who are service providers often do. And he says, you know, the people I work for, they don't want to do $1 million check and then hope their kid gets a second look. The people I work for, the wealthiest families in America, they want a guarantee. They want this thing done, he said. And so I think this is a phenomenal glimpse, because as someone who's been writing about this plutocracy for a few years, what these folks say when they hear critics like me is, don't be negative. Don't be zero-sum. We can empower the least among us, we can fight for the poor, and we can benefit and get rich, right? It's not zero-sum. And you know what really is actually zero-sum? When there is one college seat, and a hard-working kid from a poor neighborhood whose family has never sent anybody to college, but now they have a shot at that seat. They've worked hard. Their parents took many buses to many jobs. They might be eligible for that seat, and they don't get that seat because someone like Bill McGlashan, private equity baron, impact investing impresario who had a $2 billion impact fund with Bono, has locked up that seat for his son.
What do you mean?
I would guarantee you that a lot of the people, a lot of the parents ensnared in this college bribery scandal embody what I talk about when I say the elite charade of changing the world, which is both of the actresses whom I checked out online do a bunch of philanthropy, right? This Bill McGlashan guy from TPG literally ran the biggest impact investing fund in the world to help people through the power of investing. And so in many ways, those, while they were rigging the system, right? First of all, at a more general level, this case is not a one-off in the fact that the mechanism by which rich people were exerting wealth, influence, and rigging things was charity. If you look at the Koch brothers, many others, the mechanism by which a lot of this stuff is done and the kind of conquest of power is done is through charity and philanthropy. So it's very notable, but also very telling rather than exceptional that the mechanism here was charity. But to your tax deduction point, which is so important, there's several layers of the tax deduction. First of all, the rich people donated to this fake charity,
Key Worldwide Foundation,
to feed the bribe. That would eventually be reinvented as a bribe. So that's tax deduction number one. Now you've donated to this fake charity. You can, let's say you donated $1 million to it. You can now take $1 million off your income, right, and save $400,000, $500,000. Amy, who do you think pays for that? Everybody watching this. You have to understand, you paid higher taxes last year to make up for the shortfall of giving that rich person $500,000 in tax deduction. Great. Next step. The charity receives that money. Because it's registered as a charity, it's a nonprofit, it doesn't pay taxes the way other organizations that receive money, income, would pay taxes. Again, you are paying money because the system requires a certain amount of money, and if they're not paying it, you're paying it. Okay? And then some of those donations went to the Stanford Boating Association, other nonprofit, including nonprofit universities, right? And so they don't pay taxes on that either. And again, you are paying taxes for that money a third time passed on. And these universities, in many cases, are now sending 50% of their graduates into consulting, finance, Silicon Valley. So it really raises the question of why, frankly, you need to subsidize them with your hard-earned tax money for them to not pay taxes.